Alright guys, so this will be the DAP, the Driver Assistance Program for Detroit. I didn't check my times here for those noon. So first off, I guess I'll go over the weather. So 65 degrees Fahrenheit, that's 18°C, 82% humidity, east 9 miles an hour, or 14 kilometers per hour, overcast. And the way, again, that I'm going to check that is by looking at our series site. And our time in session will be 2:45. So I think that noon, if it's at 2:45, I think maybe we'll try afternoon and just kind of see where it's at. I don't know what time, how close that is to 2:45. So we'll go ahead and launch it here. So we'll check our in-sim time here. It's a little bit later than what we wanted, so we're probably just going to keep it like this and then we'll launch our session again. The setup we're going to be using will be our handy dandy trusty DAP. Let's see here. In fact, I think it's this guy here. Baseline 12. That should be it. Yeah. So I'll show it to you in US and also metric. And then for metric, I'm also just kind of checking things over. And they seem to be what we normally run. Alrighty. So the first thing first, well, I should say maybe second thing second, we will go ahead and do a walkthrough first, so a track walk. So I would tell you the danger areas, but it's pretty much everywhere here because it's all walls. There really isn't any runoff. So I guess I'll talk about a little bit about driving. I've done the other video kind of on the basic driving and how this car pushes, etc. But I would say for this track especially, if you're starting to get in trouble, just kind of be half throttle. If you're on the throttle, go to let off or downshift. Maybe gets you some traction if you're like on turn exit. But if you're going into a turn and it starts to slide on you, there's a couple places where you can just nose in. But our races are only 60 minutes, so if you nose in and turn around, I mean your race is pretty much done anyway. Unless you're just going to pick up the scraps of people smacking walls around here. But I'd say the biggest thing is if you're starting to go into a wall or starting to head towards a wall, you can just try to ease off that brake a little bit and try to turn and just kind of hope for the best here. It's kind of a wild ride if you're not used to it. So anyway, we'll go ahead and we're going to go ahead and, I guess, work our way down to turn 1, which would probably be most natural. So give me a second, we'll just pull it all the way around. Alright, coming into turn 1, you're going to want to, I hit the brakes. So again, this is for a lap 2. I'll show you kind of the brake points I have. Usually I would go, and I'll tell you the brake points maybe a little bit sooner, for kind of a safer lap, if you will. But I'll just put it this way, and probably from now on, I'll say this is my brake point, and then just back it up halfway between if you're learning the track. So my brake point's at the 300 here. But if you are just learning this or trying to make sure you just get around safely, back it up a little earlier. So that's the 300 I'm talking about. What's really nice about this marker is there's a line right across the ground here, and you want to be way out here in this corner here. So this is where I usually hit the brakes, and I hit them hard. Let's see. Oh, let me see here. Funny, I don't think I've ever driven this slowly through here, so it's not actually a line. I thought it was like a crosswalk or something like that, because I saw these two lines here, but that's not what I was actually talking about. So this is actually the line I'm talking about right here. This guy. That's my brake point. If you're on the inside of somebody, you might have to brake a little bit earlier, like back in here. But so that's my brake point for turn 1. You'll be in 5th. You can keep it there. The next thing is, I think I brake or I downshift probably a little earlier than my teammate would say. But I'd say the earliest you can brake is probably in this line here from this wall. However, what I usually do now is you're gonna kind of run this line out here with the tire tracks here, but you're gonna want to take a nice wide entry to this turn, and you're gonna really want to try to hug this curb back all in here. You don't want to be out at this wall. You want to be as tight as you can to that curb right there. So maybe if I'm kind of forget, or if I'm really hammering the brakes and I gotta really well up, then I'll downshift here. However, you want to be way out here, and this is that curb. You can actually run over this curb a little bit. Just don't smack this wall right here. But this curb, you can run up on it. You can even, this is one of the gentler curbs, so you can run up in here, and if you can even run across some of the grass. But typically, where I'd really want to be is, you know, right in there. Maybe just kiss the curb a little bit and really run it as on that line. You can see that little white line here, right in there. That's where you want to be. So then right in here, I'm going to stay pretty far right, and then I'll start doing my turn in. This is one of those things you have to kind of play with, because you're going to be out here, and you're going to want to take this as another, this is try to lay apex this as much as possible. You do not want to hit right in here. If you're hitting that point right there, you're just going to keep going, and you're going to go right into that wall. In fact, you won't hit that wall, you're probably going to hit back in here more. So stay out here nice and wide. Well, not that wide. Nice and wide, and shoot in that way. So you kind of stay out here. And you might be about here, but you still want to try to angle this, because I think I'm trying to remember, I'm usually shooting for kind of in between these guys here, that guy and that guy, those two these two Penske signs right here. So maybe somewhere in that area, not this pole, beyond that pole. So you're gonna be out here. You're gonna be feathering it a lot. So this is one of those things where you're still gonna be in 4th gear, and you're just gonna be kind of playing with the throttle, but you want to kind of shoot off in here, and it's gonna kick you out here. If you find yourself drifting towards this wall, just let off. It's gonna kill your whole straightaway. It's much better than smacking this wall. You do not want to hit this. This is the walls around here. You can get away with, you know, kissing them once or twice maybe, but I mean just a kiss. Anything more than that, and you are in a lot of trouble. So, the other thing too is be prepared for can't really see it here, but this is actually a hump right here. This is a crest. So as you're coming up on here, where this transition goes from like an asphalt to a concrete, it looks like. This is actually quite a big little hump, and you can kind of see it right here on the left. It kind of curves up and over. So when you're coming over this, be prepared. It's going to want to kind of shoot you out there a little bit. The other thing too is, besides letting off, sometimes if I feel like I'm kind of drifting out there, I'll just shift it into fifth a little early. And Alright, a little note about this straight away. This is going to feel like you can get into sixth gear. I mean, if you can somehow pull a miracle lap, maybe it's the colder weather. I've been practicing with this being about 100 to 110. So maybe I'll get turn 1 and 2 to really stick, and maybe it'll shoot me out here. But there was really no need for me to ever go into sixth gear here. In fact, there was no need to go into sixth gear anywhere on the track. So you can just keep it in fifth. I brake hard at the 400 here, and then I will downshift probably a little bit later than that into fourth, and then I usually hit third, I think, by about the white wall here. So this will be a fourth gear for me. Actually, I messed up. This will be brake, this will be fourth, and this is third. And that is horrible, but hopefully you guys get the point. So coming in here, brake on the 400. Yeah, probably maybe the 250 I'll downshift. We'll see on the hot laps where I do that. And then it's going to be probably into third right about here. Now, this curb here is kind of interesting depending on your setup. If you're running like a really stiff bar in the rear or stiff springs, hitting this curb, even if just running it over like this, will kind of bounce you along and kind of stick you out in this wall over here. If you have a real soft setup, I would kind of attack it, kind of a late apex, and you can enter here and kind of run over it to here. If I can draw a straight line, I'll try. You can almost do something kind of like that. Maybe it's not that drastic, but running it kind of straight in this path will kind of keep bouncing you right into that wall. So I would try to late apex this. If your suspension is really stiff, then maybe just kiss this guy. But you might even just want to stay off it altogether and just kind of keep your left sides into the dark area here where it's all rubbered up. I don't know how far you can go over the curb and not get a slowdown. It used to be really bad. I don't know if they've changed it, but I was practicing quite a bit on another video here, and I never got a slowdown, and just occasionally got off tracks. I was actually kind of surprised of how much curb you can take. So I think they might have changed that. I can't really see it. I'm going to hit the wall here if I do. But anyway, you kind of want to be, maybe about this angle. And what this is going to do is it's going to set you up. This is one of the few areas where you actually have runoff where you don't die. You have a little bit of grass here, so you can actually run over this curb. And if you find yourself in this grass out here, I mean, as long as it's still aimed the right way, you can really stay on the gas. Just, with this car, you really have to yank the wheel to the right to get back on. But I wouldn't be too afraid of this wall. This is one of the safest spots of the track. Now coming into here, I'll be in fourth gear, and you'll have to figure out what this is for your car. But for me, I'm running triples, so the edge of my screen, I want to brake on this one here. You'll have to find a spot that works for you, but it's kind of, that's my spot. I don't know what that corresponds to on the other side. I never look at the other side, so Maybe it's something similar over here like this. I don't know. But this is my brake point here. It's this third one in. And it's also nice because even if there's a car over here, I can still see that. I always try to make sure I have an easy brake point and something that's maybe kind of similar. But if it's something like you saw the turn one, it's real easy because they have the brake markers. Those brake markers are nice and high. So even if there's a car around it, but if my brake point is something that's not a brake marker, but it's something like this, make sure it's nice and high, or that I've got a couple of them like this, or maybe another crack on the ground. But I didn't find anything on the ground here that really looks like something I'd have for a brake point, so I just make sure it's always that guy there. I think I'm in third through here. I'll have to watch on the hot lap. So I'll be coming through here in fourth, braking, kicking into third. And this is another one where if your suspension's soft, you can really hit this curb on the run it over. You don't want to run too much. I mean, maybe run the tires over like this, but I mean, you might even get away with some of the grass. But again, this really depends on your suspension, because this isn't one where it's really going to bounce you into the wall so much, but what it'll do, it'll just upset the car, and it'll just keep rocking back and forth, and you'll feel the fronts just struggling for grip when you're trying to power down off of here. So I might come in here. I'm into fourth. My next brake point is this pole on the right. This pole, that's my brake point. And my brake point's at the edge of my screen, so I don't know if what that works out for you guys. Because if you have a different point of view, or if your field of view is different or anything like that. But this is, you'll notice when I'm driving through this in the hot laps, that's the point that I'm going to be braking right there. I think you stay pretty wide out here, and I will go into third. You might be able to stay into fourth all the way through this turn, but I will go into third, but I usually do it kind of late. I might shift. I try to shift maybe down in here. So I kind of let the car settle, and then I'll shift. I'm really working on that. I used to shift really early, but I've been really working on trying to let the car do its thing, let the brakes do their job, and then slow it down. So this pole's coming up. This is where I'm braking, but I want to keep it way, way, way right like this. And then I'm going to show you how I'd normally try to take this. So I'd be, oh man, it really doesn't want to, the differential, it kicks in. But I'm kind of like this. Maybe this isn't quite the right angle, because I couldn't quite get there when I'm turning. But and I'll back it up here in a second. But this curb here on the left is a monster. You really don't want to be on it, even if your suspension's soft. I stay off this curb altogether because it will just throw you instantly over there. Generally, the part that I'm kind of worried about, the part that I'm kind of skipping out to, if you will, I think it's usually in about this area. This is kind of the point of the wall that I really got to watch out for. But because I'll be coming in here, and my line is going to kind of take me right along that edge and then sweep back again. So let me show you what this wall looks like, or this. I called it a wall. It's so big it looks like a wall. Funny. From this angle, it doesn't look so bad, but when you're coming up at it, this guy here looks like a beast when you're driving. And if you run your lefts up like this over it, let me show you. You run those lefts up over like this, it's gonna just throw you right into here. Again, even if it doesn't, it will upset the car so much that your front tires will just be hopping all through here trying to get some traction. And that's the thing about Detroit. Detroit is super, super, super bouncy. If you watch the guys in real life, they've got their hands taped up, and even with that, they got blisters, and their hands are usually bleeding afterwards because those guys don't have power steering. So anyway, coming in through here, it will kind of be out in like this. This is not the view, but I'll be this close to the wall coming off of here. So then you're going to shoot back to the left. And my next brake point is right about this pole. Maybe I can get in as late as there, but usually it's about in this area. So somewhere in that box, if you will. You know, these banners are really nice. You know, really good marker. You want to stay really far left out here, because this is definitely a turn you want to lay apex as much as you can. And I'll circle, maybe I'll just talk about it real quick. Turn 1, you know what, I'll talk about when we get back there, because there's a couple turns where you kind of have to watch out for the exit on this, but this is one of those. So what I'll do is get rid of my pen. So I would be in 4th, and I'd be downshifting into 3rd here. When you guys can't see it, I always forget with the singles. You want to late apex. You still can't even see it. You're not even aiming for this. What you're aiming for, you can't even see it. It's on the other side of this wall right here. So I'm gonna move around to what you are looking for, because you want to stay way out. And you're almost trying to hit the wall. If your car turns really well, maybe don't aim for it, but I'm usually kind of doing this, I want to use my hands to describe it, the back end will kind of step out a little bit, but in a good way. But what it does is it kind of floats a little bit, so I'm almost looking at it like this. Even though my car looks like it's going to hit this wall, it will actually go on the other side of this. I'm going to see if I can back up and kind of show you what this wall looks like a little bit here. So you can see this isn't quite the angle I'd be at, but it's getting pretty close to something like this. And then it's going to want to, if you get on the throttle too early, it's going to want to push you in here. If you find yourself going in towards all this pure Michigan stuff, you're on the throttle. It's pushing too much. What you want to do is you want to get it so you have a nice confident feel, so that it's still curving, but I don't want to be at the wall until I'm here. And I think that this part here is actually a little bit further out, and the track narrows up, I think, right about here. So we're gonna go take a little drive over here, but for the most part, I'm on the throttle. This is one of those points of the track where I'm really playing with the throttle. This is probably one of the trickiest turns, and it's the most important turn, because this goes through the longest straightaway, and it's the best for overtaking, because everyone's going to want to, if you just get a nose in the inside of somebody, if someone could just sniff that they're going to get by you, they will take this opportunity. So let me just drive over here, and we'll see if I'm right about this wall. So it goes out. Yeah, it does. Oh, maybe it doesn't. Oh, it's just kind of angled. So you can see you got a lot of room here, but even if you're like, okay, I'm good, you can see this track is still going to go off to the right, and then it goes straight. That's a little exaggerated, but that's why you want to be shooting for this area or beyond as your exit, because if you're shooting for this part as your exit, you're still going to be trying to hook the car to, you're still going to be trying to turn rather than letting the car kind of ease out into the straight. So if you find yourself going to here, you're going to be really yanking the wheel to the right, trying to get the thing back over this way. So here it's just full on all the way down. I usually just kind of hug the wall over here on the right. It depends. If I have a GT4 on me, then I'll just kind of hang way out here. It depends how close they are. If they were really close to me, maybe I would actually go over here, because this is the normal line, and just let them take the left. But if they're really far away from you, if they're, let's say, if they were a second off you, if they're less than a second, I'd just run your normal line. Whatever your normal line is, run that. I'd probably kind of let them cruise out to the left, and maybe just me go to the right. Whatever it is, once you do it, commit. Do not be going back and forth on these guys. I'll find out more in practice. Kind of works out a little better how much I'm actually hanging over here on the left. But if they're like a second behind you, you can hang out way over here. And if you're hugging this wall, it'll be very obvious to them which way to go. But normally, I'm going to be over here, kind of hugging this wall more. Maybe put the tires just on the stripe there and keep it straightened out. I'm try to straighten out the straight as much as possible. It might only be worth 1/100th of a second, but I'll take it. I also stay a little bit further right out here like this. because what you're going to want to do is, my brake point is this 400 right there. I'm actually maybe this is probably about where I'd be out here. Sometimes the 4 and the 3 kind of overlap each other a little bit, kind of like this. My view might look more like this on my approach. See how they're overlapped, the 4 and the 3? So maybe I'm coming in probably a little bit more like this at this point. They aren't quite so far apart. You can see there's not much gap in between there. But the 4 is my brake point. The thing with, depending on the setup, my car wants to dive to the left on the brakes on initial, so really hard braking, it will want to go left. And when it does that, because I'm braking here, and of course if it wants to shoot me left, that's awesome if it shoots me left and it hooks me around this turn. It's really bad when it shoots me left and wants to hook me right into this, where the 300 is. So if you're finding yourself doing that, just stay a little bit wider. And actually come at this turn at this angle, where you're lining up these guys. This is the sight picture, where you got the 3 and the 2 and the 1, and you got this, see how you're nice and straight right there. So maybe you can wait a little bit longer instead of trying to hug this and then come around. Just come straight at it like this instead. Like I said, this is an overpassing opportunity here, so what I would do is I'd practice 2 things. Practice being way, way, way left. It doesn't matter if it's GT4s or another TCR, but I would practice this turn staying as pretending like there's a car on the inside of you. So take this really wide, and then I would do the same thing and try to never cross this line that you can kind of see there. Stay over in this area over here so you can give someone room on the outside. If you go into this turn, if you're on the outside, you might as well just give it up. Unless you think you can actually hold it for the next turn. But if you're not gonna, if you can't hold it here, going into the fountain is going to be, there's a lot of accidents that happen in the fountain. So, so like I said, brake at the 4, you're coming down. I'd probably wait till I'm about maybe here to shift, maybe a little bit longer. But this is one turn that I almost always hit the curbs. Again, this is kind of like I think it's turn 3 where we had those curbs. I know we have curbs everywhere, but if the end of the first, well, you have the front stretch where pit lane is. You have the turn 1, then turn 2, and you have that other long stretch. This is kind of like, this is a very similar turn to that. So you can kind of hit this one kind of at that same angle. You can kind of cross this way. So you're going to come out really wide, come across, you can hit that curb there. Soft suspension, you might be able to eat it up a little bit more, just like that turn 3. You can kind of take it at more of an angle like that. If you got someone on the outside of you, you might even just run, because you're going to be going slow enough, you might as well just run over the whole thing. Just keep your lefts over here if you got someone on the inside of you. I have not tried. I know what I will be doing, and I suggest you do the same, but I'd see, just try cutting this more and more and more, like try cutting it there, then try cutting it here, then try cutting it here, and then cut it here, and see where you get off tracks, and also where you get a time penalty. Because this might be one of those things, especially on lap 1, where if everybody's getting all banged up in here and there's just a pile of cars, you might just kind of squirt through here and save yourself some headache and just not even worry about all those people and just cut the course completely, because this is one area that can get really nasty. Our league usually doesn't have too many problems, but this is a really tight track. Oh, here's the other thing. This is one of the few places you have a bailout. I don't practice this because, like I said, if you end up getting stuck in this bailout area, trying to back out with cars coming in your mirror, this car trying to make a U-turn, and maybe you can do it if you got the handbrake, like I do, but you're going to be doing, it's like Austin Powers doing that 50-point turn in that hallway. It's going to be a disaster back here. If you do hit those curbs really hard, This is another one you got to watch out for this wall, because you like, again, Detroit's bouncy, so those fronts are going to be rocking there. We skipping all the way towards, while it's trying to get traction going through that wall, or not through that wall, but towards that wall. So you're going to come out here. Another note, I go to third gear. You can play with it and go to try to stay in fourth. Like I said, I had a teammate, Brandon. That guy, I think he could probably just run around the track in fifth gear. He barely downshifts. It feels like the RPMs are so low, and I'm not used to that. For me, I've got some bad habits, and I always feel like the engine needs to be kind of like winding out. So I'm trying to slow that down, trying to let the brakes and the suspension do their thing, and then downshift when I'm about to accelerate, or somewhere in the between. At least not as much as I was, where it's almost like jamming it in the gear and having that thing try to engine brake. The next thing is, I'm usually hitting my brakes right about here where the blue and the yellow meet here, if I remember correctly. So we'll see that on the hot lap. And we'll be braking. Now we want to stay really wide here, and again, try to lay apex this one. Traffic is going to determine what you're really going to do, but if you're by yourself, try to stay right, try to lay apex. There is a dip here, right in here, this dip. You can try adding more front spring, you can try adding more bump in the front, you can try raising your fronts, you can try all kinds of stuff. You can lessen it, but I'm not sure I've got any setup that will completely eliminate me just scraping the heck out of this thing. I shouldn't say scraping the heck out of it. I think I always, maybe if I come really, really wide and come in at this angle like this, it doesn't, because the rights go in first, then the lefts, and it doesn't really bang that nose on there. But for the most part, I'm almost always hitting that. The danger with that is if your front is, because your wheels are going to fall into this little dip here, your nose is going to hit about here, and then what that's going to do is your tires will now be very light. They won't have much traction, and it's going to want to squirt you right into this wall out here. So be careful of this one. So stay to the right. Come in here, and you can see there's that drain. Perfect. The reason there's a drain, because it's a low point. So as you're coming up to that drain, you know, right about there, you're gonna hit. So I try to really lay apex this one. That was actually too shallow, but I really try to be right about in here. And through the fountain here, it's kind of weird. I usually try to be really light on the throttle through most of it. This is one of those spots where I try to really hit it as soon as I can. I feather it to the outside, but I kind of hit it hard and then kind of see what it's doing. And if it's going to grab, it'll grab. I'm usually got a little more wheel into it than I normally do here as well. I'm usually really light. If you see my other videos, I don't have my steering wheel turned on, but you can see what I'm doing at least down in here. So take a look down at this guy, that thing right there, and you can kind of see what my wheel's doing. I almost never have my wheel turn more than this at any track, even hairpins and all kinds of stuff. Maybe I get into like if this would be like 1130-ish of my right hand, but usually it's you know, it's kind of like 90 to 90, so it's 180 that I usually go. That's about as far as I go. And this turn here, you can probably get away with this, but I tend to kind of run it a little bit more than I normally would, and then I just play with the throttle to get it to turn. Throughout this whole complex here, I will be hard on the throttle. Maybe I let up in here. I do not brake. You're not going to be braking here at all. But the right sides you can kind of run with where it's all rubbered up. This is another one of those turns where they kind of has a driving line for you. So just kind of run with the that asphalt there. So I will be as much throttle as I can without having the fronts get pushy. Then right about here, I'll probably start coasting. And then I might touch the brakes here. But I mean, we're talking like, if you look at the brake thing at the bottom there, maybe I'm hitting it about, oh, maybe like this. It's just like barely hitting the brakes. It's like you're not hammering the brakes right here. It's just barely touching it to kind of get it to rotate. And you want to really lay apex this, and you really want to drive in about here. This is one of those ones where it's all rubbered up right here. This is if your lefts are here, you're too far right. I want my lefts not quite like on this line, but pretty darn close. It's like I'm kind of shooting in this way here with my lefts. My rights, I can't tell you really because I'm usually focused on my lefts being my lefts left of all this dirty stuff here. Now, maybe later on in a race when this is all marbled up, that'll be a problem. But I'll tell you, this car, if you're shooting in like this, then try to make this really hard turn to the right, this car doesn't do it so well. So I'm going to back it up just kind of show you how this curb looks here. So you normally be left of this, but if you hit this curb here, again, it's going to upset you to go into the right. Maybe you can run on this a little bit, but I mean, when I'm talking a little bit, you're running up on it. You're running up on it here, not way back in the curb, way back here. You're hitting the curb up in here, and if it's going to bounce at all, you want it bouncing straight. If you're hitting back in this area, I know I'm drawing on my dash, but if you're hitting the curb back in here, it's going to keep throwing you into this area. And if you're in this area, you're making that weird, awkward turn again. You're trying to do that. Bad, bad, bad. So I'm going to be in here, and this is another one of those curbs that I stay off of. So this isn't like the turn 3 or the one entering the fountain complex you can hit. This one I stay off of. It doesn't really throw you in the wall so much like you'll crash because it's so slow around here. It just slows you down so much. You just lose so much speed. So you just stay off of this curb. So I'll come in here. Come in away ride. And I just noticed something on my single screens. I don't even see the curb. Or you can run over it in reverse. You can see that's a pretty big curb. Let me see. And it's hard to tell, but it's pretty big here. So you really want to stay way out wide and do this. If you're on a single screen, I'm not sure how to judge this because with triples. Let me see. Is that kind of how it looks on there? Not really. I was trying to see if I looked right. If it looks, it's kind of halfway in between that. So triples, my triples are nice, but they're not so nice that I got 180. Let's see here. There we go. So I guess on the hot lap we'll just kind of have to see what this looks like for if you run your field of view like I do. Some people say that it feels like it's so close, but if you do the math, this is the correct field of view for my setup. So the thing you don't want to hit is this wall out here. And this is just this turn you have to really wait on. It feels like you're coming to a standstill, but if you hit the gas too early, you're going to go in this wall because this car, I've said it a million times, if you slam the throttle down and you turn, doesn't matter how much you turn, the car is going to go straight. If you're angled like this, you're going to hit that wall. So just make sure you're blowing up half throttle even. This car turns really well on a half throttle. At least on like a diff 2. If you're on a diff 3, you can, if you're off throttle, it's kind of pushy. And if you're on, but on throttle, it might turn a little better. And if you're on a 1, it'll turn better off throttle, but then you hit the gas and it'll really tighten up. So, but 2, it's kind of the happy medium. It's a little bit pushy on both. It's not really loose on either. I guess this car's never loose, except for if you've got a lot of brake valve or a lot of bias in that thing on the brakes. So anyway, you're going to want to come out here. Be easy on the throttle. You can, if it's hooking up, great. You can slam it. If it's not, run it like 90% because there are a ton of bumps in here, and it's almost like hitting washboard right here. And you will hear the tires. Even on my lap, I'll hit it hard, and you'll hear it. Just it's that all the way through up to about. It probably doesn't start catching 100% till right about here. You'll hear that thing all the way through. Just the front's just kind of skipping through in here. This is another one, so I would be third gear through there. And I think I stay in third all the way through. This is another one that's really tempting to... Actually, it might be fourth. I forget which gear I'm in. Put it this way. Whatever gear I'm in, it's always tempting to try to get into the next one. It will bounce off the limiter right after the 3 usually for me, but that's also right about my brake point. So I brake usually a little after the 3. So if there's 3 and 200, probably about 275. Maybe if I'm feeling particularly confident, maybe it's a 250. If I want to back it off, maybe a 300. But you'll see again on the fast lap, it's going to be really tempting to shift here. You can. It just, you shift and then you're immediately on the brakes and you're downshifting. So I'm usually right about here is where I start hitting the brakes. Hit them hard. You don't want to be braking in the turn. So this is one you want to stay out as close to this wall as you can. Hit the brakes super hard. This is another one of those ones. It doesn't look like a passing opportunity. It typically isn't. But if somebody gets if you got a horrible exit, here's the thing. It's not a good passing opportunity unless if you're the guy up front, I should say, if you're the guy overtaking, you're not going to want to pass somebody here unless they screw up. Even with the GT4s, I think as long as a TCR, if you're in a TCR and you're getting off a good to that chicane back there, the exit of that fountain complex, GT4s I don't think can really catch you up here. Or they can catch you, but it's just a bad opportunity. It will happen. I guarantee you GT4s are going to try to run upside you on here. So I'd say pretty much every turn on this track, I would practice going too wide, except for maybe I'll do another lap real quick of where people are going to try to pass you. So let me do that. I'll just do my second lap will be where the people will try to pass you lap. So I'm hard on the brakes, hard on the brakes, hard on the brakes. And I'll probably start turning in. I probably have a habit of probably turning a little bit earlier, but in my mind it's about this 100. Because you're going to, again, try to late apex this. If you early, you're right in this wall. I have a bad habit of entering turns too early, but I'd say this is probably one of the tracks where I consciously am hitting apexes maybe a little bit later than I would if I didn't have a wall sitting on the other side. And this is also another one of those turns you got to really take it easy. So this is one of those ones where I can't say, here's exactly where I brake, here's exactly where I get back on the throttle. This is another of those ones where I'm playing it kind of by ear every time. And I'm not saying that in a bad way, because there's some tracks like I have no idea where I'm letting off or what I'm doing. Mid-Ohio turn 1, I think, is one of my worst. To kind of play with some of that turn. For some reason, it kind of messes me up. There's a few turns where I'm just kind of like guessing at it a few times. Coda has a couple turns like that for me. That's not what I'm talking about by playing it here. What happens is I hit my brake, hit it well, do my turn in, and then I kind of evaluate. And then from there, I'm playing with the throttle. Sometimes, lap to lap, the weather, if it changes, 5 degrees difference, this track will feel a lot different. So you have to really adjust for this track. Not just this turn, all the way around the track, especially those first couple laps when it's cold. So I'll do another lap, but not quite as slow as we are, just to show you some of the other things that maybe I've forgotten. Anyway, so this one I'm coming in here wide. And I want to get to the wall right about where this DHL and all this is on the left. And no brakes here. You're just going to let off. I just let it breathe a little bit. I let it breathe, and then I'm going to lay apex this curb as well. And then here I'm back on the throttle pretty hard. I'm trying to get back on as fast as I can. And then you kind of judge it. If it feels like it's going to push towards the wall, just crack the throttle a little bit. If it's really hooking up and sticking nice, then just keep it going. But I don't usually run my steering wheel too much differently here. It's more playing with the throttle all the way out to this turn. Alright, we're going to go around. I'll show you a pit entrance on the other side of this. Oh, run it. This is another one of those spots. If you have a GT4, so I guess I'll start the GT4 passing stuff. This is where I'd normally run it if nobody's around. However, if there's a GT4 on you and you're going through this turn here, typically what I'll do is I'll stay left, because you're going to be running really hard. You're going to come towards this wall. Just stay at the wall. Let them have the inside. It's just a little easier. But here's the thing: you have to practice this, because this is one thing. If you're used to hugging this this wall in here, and now you're going to be out here trying to make this turn, this black wall comes up at you very, very, very fast. It's sharper than you think because you're so used to straightening it out. So it doesn't look like it, but at speed, stay left of this line. Try to keep somebody some room. In fact, you maybe even stay a little bit left of that, maybe out here some more. But practice this. Pretend like you have a car on the inside. And watch, you want to stay off of them here, because that's where they're going to want to be running. So if you're practicing that, this is your no-go zone right here. Again, another spot. GT4s will definitely be passing you here. So just let them have the inside. Just let them have the inside here. And you need to practice staying outside here. This is, I'm not sure if I talked about it on the first time around, but this is another turn where I will kind of float in, and I'm playing with the throttle a lot here. Playing with the brakes, playing with the throttle, but very light inputs all the way around here, because I'm trying to get set up on this line. So it's almost like a pilot landing a plane and trying to get it there. That's what I'm after. I'm not muscling it into this turn at all. You might also find that if you come in here a little too hot, that it's trying to push out to this wall. All I can say is put that thing at like half throttle, or if you're on the brakes, just kind of just stay on the brakes lightly longer than you should. It will come around. If you're on the throttle and it's starting to push out there, then just crack the throttle back and let it come back around, and you're going to be stuck way out here on this curb, and you're going to have a horrible entry to turn 2, and you're probably going to lose about 3 seconds down the next straight, but it's better than ending your race. Alright, I'm going to show you more passing areas. They should have passed you already by here. If they are behind you right here, I would not... I'll defend this before I give up so far out here. I'll just stay right here. They can pass me. They're only going to be about a second more. They can wait. And I can be out here, and I'll just stick on the wall. Just stay on the wall like this. This is now the how to have GT4s pass you lap. So just stay here. They can go on the left. Once you have more space, then get back over. If you never get that opportunity, just stay right and learn how to drive this turn. Take turn 1 on the right hand side, which is again gonna suck. Once I'm in here, they should have passed you. I'm usually not gonna open myself up to getting past here. If someone maybe was catching you on the straight, and now they set you up really well, and they caught you coming off here, and they were able to catch you, yeah, fine. I'll let them go on the inside. But if they were like on your tail and they kind of followed you through that turn, they're not going to accelerate fast enough. They got way more speed, but they're just... I'll watch in practice, but I don't think that they're going to be able to like be on you and then be able to make this turn safely. So, and they're going to be very impatient, because if they don't get by you through that last turn, it's very dangerous, and they have a long way to go. There's lots of turns. Even though we might be just as fast as them through here, it doesn't feel like it. You can follow a TCR through here that's faster than you, and they'll still feel like they're slowing you down. So a GT4, even if they're slightly slower, it's going to feel like you're slowing them down, and they're going to be itching to get by you. But through this whole area, for the most part, shouldn't be a whole lot of passing. It feels like it's long enough, but it just really isn't. So you're going to be coming in here. If they set you up right, then fine, they can get inside of you. But if they get inside of you, they're going to be fighting this, which you can see this curb is really low here. But this is because it's like a wheelchair access. So if they come at it at this angle, it's a ramp. There's another one. They're thinking they're going to want to pass you here. Just have them wait. Look how short this little distance is here. So if you have to defend it, defend it. I would. Come in here, just run wide and just stay wide out here like this. Let them go on the inside, let them have... I usually give them more room than they need. I'll stay way out here like this, especially if you're going to have two GT4s going too wide. Just stay over here like this. Just don't even get in their way at all. So once you start entering this brake zone, I would practice with other people too. Just try to run this track side by side with people, just all the way around. I know it sounds weird, but like my teammates and I, we'll do some dumb stuff. We'll be like, hey, just dive bomb you here just to try it, see what it's like, and see if you can get through here. Because this corner, I tell you right here, get a good look at it. This is where a lot of the passing is going to happen. So you have to know how to drive on the left and how to drive on the right. It will happen during the race. Because this is another last opportunity. I'll use air quotes, last opportunity, because going through the fountain complex, they're not going to be able to pass you until almost the front stretch. Alright, we talked it on the track walk. This is another one. Just stay out here. If they got a really good run on you, then fine, let them go. If they're way back there, I'll even kind of run out here, come off that turn a little bit, and just park it right about here. If they are so aggressive that they're going to try to pass you on the right on this, then they're going to dive bomb you anyway. So I just kind of hang out like this and just kind of ease my way back over and go through here. They should not be passing through here. There's not enough room to do this. Again, they can just wait, set you up for the front. If they're nice and kind, you make it very well known that you're going to sit over here and you're not going to give them any problems as a reward for being patient. Alright, then we'll talk about pit entrance. So for pit entrance, you can be full throttle all the way into fifth gear, I think you'll get up into. And I used to brake at the tree when I was first starting off. You can wait way longer. Just if you get this thing timed right, you can hit the edge. For some reason, my pen seems a lot larger now. This guy here, we'll drive up to it, but you can get full throttle in there. So there's another good spot too. So it's that corner of the wall. If you can't see that really well, you can see this right here, this like a crosswalk looking thing. Maybe that's what that is, I'm not sure. But hit this, hit your brakes super hard, stay on them, because these cones come up really quick. But if you do it right, it should be right at the 40 miles an hour. I don't know what it is in kilometers. Alright, we're going to restart this because I know it probably spent a lot more time. This is way past our race time, so we'll try to get it close to what our race time is. We're going to jump out of the session, jump back in, and we're going to run 15 minutes full speed. Alright, we're going to go ahead and run our test and run 15 laps just to kind of show you how I do it, and we'll do a couple driving lines afterwards. The other thing is I'm not going to run with my steering wheel, just not the way I drive, and to me it's distracting. So we're going to do these, and if you want to see what it looks like, you can see all my inputs right down in here. Yeah, I should see it, but this stuff in here, that's my inputs. Alrighty. 15 laps. Or sorry, 15 minutes. One thing I want you to pay attention to is not only my inputs, but listen to the tires. They're going to give you tons of feedback here. You're going to hear when they're skipping, when they're losing traction. When I'm on the throttle, you're going to hear them, lurching. You're going to hear them spin up a little bit. You're going to hear them grab. You're going to see just how bumpy this course is. Alright, just curious. So we're at 93, 94, 96. Based on that, my tire's probably pretty good. I'd run a longer stint, but if you guys know how I run it, I either run these to their even or 1% off. These are the 3.0. That's probably the lowest I'd go is like a 2.8. I think the lowest I've ever run is like a 2.7, but 3 is probably pretty good. I'd probably keep it right there. So the backs, 98, 99, that's fine. What are the backs at? 3.6, that's fine. Maybe a 3.5, something like that is what I normally run. Maybe a 3.2 if just depending on how they're going. But all in all, you could see how ugly that can get, and those are my 7 laps or so, 15 minutes, ugly warts and all. So I will just go ahead and turn the driving line on, and I will run the fastest lap so you guys can see what that looks like. See if we learn anything here. So that was sorry, that was loud. That was 138.884. You can see my times here. So they start off kind of high, and it goes to a 4, a 2, a 3, a 1. So they're coming down, down, down. The 9, the 8. So you can see my tires are getting better and better. I was also running the bias back a little bit more, as I called out in the video. And then, of course, this was us entering pit lane. So we'll just kind of see from this perspective what it looks like. So you can compare my inputs compared to the driving line, and I'll see if I learned. And this is the first time I've actually looked at the driving line for probably since the last time I was here. So we'll see. I'll just say this. If there's a way, I'm going to scoot this forward a little bit here. I try to take this pretty wide. If there's a way to cut this anymore, because I run this all the way up to the wall, the driving line stays centered more. I don't think that's even a possibility in the TCR. So this is what I'm talking about. I'm going to be out here. The driving line's way to the right. I don't see it. Alright, driving line shows much shallower approach here. If I was to try that, I think the back end would start coming around on me. You can watch my steering wheel here as I'm hitting the brakes here. I think I'm pulling this thing pretty far right because it's really trying to pull me towards the wall. So watch my steering wheel come in here. Alright, there's a couple turns maybe I would take those a little bit later. But for the most part, I didn't really see anything on the driving line that I thought I'd really experiment with. So, but there's always a tool. Take advantage of every tool that's available to you. But I really didn't see a whole lot that I would have changed there. So I think that's going to pretty much wrap it up. I won't go through the how to save it with all the different turns because, like I said, I think I did a lot of that on the track walkthrough. But this one, there's not a whole lot of if this happens, save it. It's really just stay within the lines because if you don't, the walls are not forgiving here at all. This is the most. Maybe Laguna's worse. I haven't driven the TCR on Laguna, but I've driven Laguna, so this is probably the most treacherous that we run in the TCR. With that, good luck and good studying, and hope to see you on track. Hopefully this helps you guys. Let me know in the comments. Thanks. Bye.